Welcome to our executive interview series at the UiPath on Tour Public Sector Conference presented by FedScoop. I'm Wyatt Cash, and I'm here with Chris Kraft, Deputy Chief Technology Officer for AI and Emerging Technology at the Department of Homeland Security. Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So I'd like to start by asking, what emerging trends in AI and automation are you most excited about, and how do you see them impacting the public sector?
Yeah, so I'm very excited about generative AI, and I think we hear about generative AI every day in the news, and I think there's a huge opportunity for the public sector. And I think the opportunity is spread across a lot of different areas, from the basic content summarization. You can take large policy documents or really dense documents, and you can use generative AI to summarize them and get to real critical insights. I think software development is another area that generative AI is already being transformative, and recent statistics are that generative AI is writing 40% of new software. I think that content creation, when you're trying to come up with ideas for any wide range of things and you have a blank sheet of paper, leveraging a generative AI tool like a ChatGPT is a great way to get a start. I also think chatbots, that's another area that we're seeing a lot of organizations that are interested in using generative AI to make it easier to interact with your own data, grounding it on your agency data so that you can ask questions and you can quickly and easily get responses that flow very naturally in the way that generative AI is amazing at doing that.
And then could you share a specific example or two of where AI and automation have significantly impacted your organization's mission, and what were the key factors that contributed to its success?
Sure, I'll give you one example where we deployed generative AI into production, and then I'll talk about a few that we're currently working on, and then some lessons learned for all those. So one that we recently deployed into production is one at FEMA. We called it FEMA OCFO GPT. So that is a generative AI solution that can be used to answer budget questions. So FEMA gets 15 questions a day on their budget that take thousands of hours a year to answer. And when a question comes in, it requires input from people in the mission areas that have to divert their attention from things that they're doing, like disaster response and recovery, to answer questions on the budget. It's really critical that you get the answers, but the tool helps generate a draft response that can be used as a starting point. And the idea is that you free people up so that they have to do less work to actually answer the questions, but you still have sufficient human review to validate the answers and make sure that they're accurate and on point. So that's one example that we're able to deploy into production and is operational today. At DHS, we also have a number of other generative AI pilots that we're working on. One is with USCIS to help officers train to interact with refugees and asylum seekers so that they can be trained on what that dynamic is like when you are asking questions and getting responses, and be able to do it in a way that augments training with people in person and gives you the ability to simulate other interactions and prepare for the real world interactions. We also have a pilot with HSI to help with investigations and comb through large volumes of documents, and then another pilot with FEMA to help with disaster mitigation response plans and underserved communities that have to draft these. They're called hazard mitigation plans, that have to draft these plans using generative AI to help expedite that process, make it easier to generate those plans and help them move forward with that. So when it comes to lessons learned and what we're seeing in some key success factors, one is being able to quickly prototype and explore and test out the functionality of these software solutions. Being able to see something that is operational that may not be the end product, but being able to see something that gets you halfway there and then being able to iterate is really critical to get momentum, to give people an idea of what the art of the possible is, and then to move that forward to the next stage and continue to iterate. Dealing with the data, and making sure that you understand the nuances with generative AI and how you have to structure the data, how you have to parse the data, some of the challenges and some of the lessons learned on how you do that so you can get to the best answers possible is another lesson learned, that the data is absolutely critical, but it's a little bit nuanced in some ways on what you need to do to get to the best place possible. And then user testing, always critical in any software development environment, but with generative AI, there's some nuances there. Automating user testing, using testing frameworks where you can quickly get feedback on how accurate is the response, how relevant is the response, and how grounded is the response on factual information. And then being able to repeat that over and over again to, again, iterate to get to a solution that is trustworthy and accurate and is something that people can count on when they're using it in their day-to-day work.
Well, Chris Kraft, thank you so much for stopping by here at the UiPath on Tour Public Sector Conference and sharing some of these use cases and lessons learned with our audience. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.